everything with the oval ball. We speak to Thando. Thando, thank you very much for joining us right here in Sports and Prime. It's always good to hear from you. There's been shuffling all around in rugby circles. The SARU Coaching Indaba, the third leg was held earlier today. What do you make of it, Thando?
Good evening to you, Mr. Stolle, and to the viewers of 404. And I think our rugby, 2017 has started off where it left off. One of the reasons I make mention of that was in December we were told that we will get to hear what the review committee have come up in terms of bringing down those that need to go. But also what's important here, Thabiso Stolle, is, you're looking at South African rugby really needing a complete overhaul, and that the committee failed to come up with those much-needed ideas and suggestions and plans taking South African rugby forward, whereby it was changed to early January, but in January it was then moved to last week Monday.
Yeah.
Subsequent to that, then it was the sad loss of Jos van der Westhuizen, and that also went for another week. I think from last week Monday to now, it's been 10 days. And with news, you've just mentioned also that we've had a third Indaba, but subsequent to that, we haven't heard anything from the review panel of what the recommendation are. And that should be a worrying thing, Thabiso, for South Africa, because remember, in just 3 months, the SA Under-20 will have to go to Georgia for a World Cup for the Under-20 side, and we still not in the clear, despite me saying earlier on that a guy like Zwandile Stick was part of the Springbok squad.
Thando, let me just tell you that. That's what I wanted to go to. You mentioned the reshuffling, you mentioned changes, you mentioned Under-20. We all know how good and how well our Under-20 structures are. Zwandile Stick seems to be one of the first fallout guys from that dreaded season of last year. Assistant coach at Springbok level, he's now gone down to Under-20s. What do you make of that?
Look, I think for someone, and Thabiso, this is what South African rugby does with players. They attack the weakest link, and in this case, Zwandile, unfortunately, becomes that, because one would also ask for a Johan van Graan. What about him? You ask of Matthew Proudfoot. What about him? I make mention of the latter. They stay behind, but Zwandile Stick finds himself with no place. With the likelihood that a guy like Franco Smith would sort of come in and slip into that position that he held. But also, let me also, say to you and the viewers that I think subsequent to Alistair being announced as the Springbok coach, his name was penciled down by then, Rassie Rasmus and company. And company hereby, I mean the SARU delegation, where his name, as it was penciled out, it was for an off-the-ball coach. And one has to sort of ask himself, what is an off-the-ball coach then? When Alistair came in, obviously things changed. He became the assistant coach. This is a guy that in his CV had just penciled that he had won the Under-19 A division with Eastern Province at the time, was the assistant coach of the Southern Kings, who themselves were sort of put up together in a matter of 2 weeks before the start of the 2016 season. So for me, for him to be not to be just easily let go in that manner, it says serious things are happening inside the SARU house. And for me, that is worrying, to find that they will target the injured one and also the vulnerable person to move forward, instead of coming up and giving us a press conference, Thabiso, which is very important. SARU doesn't do that. They give us electronic. You are aware of that. Yeah. So we need that so that we're able to ask the relevant and most potent questions to the people in front.
Thando, what are we going to do? We've run out of time, but I need to pose one more question from you. In fact, I'm going to ask the show producers if we can bring you in to have a more comprehensive chat about this. Zwandile Stick, where to from now for this man? Because again, when he was announced as being assistant to the Springbok coach, we said, look, this is what it's about. Transformation, looking ahead. Could we see the first African black coach of that Springbok team?
Well, he was earmarked for that, and I mean, he's been put under the train, so that won't happen anytime soon. He will join the junior ranks, but also they're talking about sending him away for special coaching, sort of 3 months, sort of sabbatical leave all over the world to gain more experience. But he does not need that. He needs to be around, but he needs to be monitored very well. There's a lot of coaching that needs to be done in South Africa than sending hours outside the country. But for now, it looks as if he'll only be involved in the junior rank level, but also I think he'll also be brought into the Mobi unit that was left behind by Rassie Erasmus, and also he will be used across in terms of junior structures. But for now, at international and senior level, he's certainly his future is very, very bleak.
Thando Manana's apologies. We're going to have to leave it there. We run out of time. Thando Manana speaking to us, former Springbok Enforcer right there, and in-house rugby analyst speaking to us via telephone. Obviously, as I said, the week or so, the Super Rugby starts, so he's catching up on all things rugby, and hopefully we can continue with that interview sometime during the week. We take a quick break right here on Sports in Prime. When you return, a couple more stories. We go down to Pietermaritzburg, the doozy, and then our guest is